Arguably the best player the Bengals face on a yearly basis wants to be traded away from his team. And in this video, I'll explain that no matter how the situation turns out, this is great news for Cincinnati. Hi again, Bengals fans. John Sheeran of A to Z Sports Cincinnati here. And once again, there is a really good NFL player who plays in the state of Ohio who has requested a trade away from his team. But this time, his team is not the Cincinnati Bengals. Cleveland Browns All-Pro, All-World edge rusher Myles Garrett has officially publicized his request to be traded away from the Browns. His trade request has been known by the Browns for quite some time, but he actually went public with it this week, and the only reason why players would do that at all is to put more pressure on the team to actually field some calls and maybe, accept it. And as the Bengals and their fans know very well after experiencing everything that 2024 had to offer with both T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson requesting trades away from the team, it doesn't always work out for the player in this case, because what Myles Garrett wants and what the Cleveland Browns want right now look like two very different things. It's very clear that Garrett wants to go to a team that can contend for a Super Bowl right now while he's still in the prime of his career. Remember, he's only 29 years old. He's still a Defensive Player of the Year finalist, and he can still help out a team actually win the whole damn thing, which the Browns are not even close to being ready to do right now, as they started more quarterbacks last year than they had wins. But just like the Bengals weren't actually pressured to trade either Higgins or Hendrickson, the Browns aren't really pressured to trade Garrett either. They still have him under contract for 2 more years. It would cost them tens of millions of dollars in dead cap if they were to trade him right now. And to be quite honest with you, they can just sit back and watch his offers kind of roll in because they can ask for whatever they want in return for Myles Garrett. And that's what makes it interesting from a Bengals perspective, because the Browns are obviously going to take the public stance that they don't want to trade Myles Garrett at all, and that's what they're going to have to do in order to maintain, leverage in the negotiation side of things. But if they are interested just even a little bit about what they can get in return for Myles Garrett, then the door at least is open for Myles Garrett not being a Cleveland Brown in 2025, and that would obviously be a massive win for the Bengals. Because it doesn't matter how long you've been a fan of the Bengals, you've always known Myles Garrett to be a complete thorn in their side for his entire career. Only 2 other players in NFL history have more sacks against the Bengals than Myles Garrett, and their names are Cameron Hayward and TJ Watt of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Because for the majority of Garrett's career, he's beaten the Bengals more times than the Bengals have beaten him, and him just beating whatever offensive lineman he goes up against like a drum has been a huge reason as to why. And it's very obvious that his main impact, which is to sack the quarterback, it's why he has such an emotional attachment on Bengals fans and maybe just fans of the AFC North in general, because his job is to hurt the quarterback. His job is to make Joe Burrow's life a living hell, and obviously anyone who's an enemy of Joe Burrow is an enemy to Bengals fans. So it's obviously not groundbreaking information to say that if the Browns do trade Myles Garrett, it is a big win for the Bengals. But I'll go as far as to say, even if they don't trade him, I still think that's a positive impact on the Bengals as a whole. Because if the Browns don't trade Garrett, they're going to have to A, deal with a disgruntled version of their best player who clearly doesn't want to be on the team anymore, not for any reason as to him hating the team, but realizing that the prime years of his career are being wasted on a team that's looking more towards the future. And if the Browns are looking towards the future and trying to go all in on rebuilding the team, then not gaining a plethora of draft capital in exchange for Garrett is a huge misstep on their part. And that makes this whole thing even more interesting, because from the outside looking in, it seems like the Browns are trying to have their cake and eat it too, because holding on to Myles Garrett while also rebuilding towards the future, that doesn't seem very conducive to do. Because they literally just tried to go all in with Deshaun Watson, and clearly that didn't work out, so I don't really know what other option that they have other than to just tank and look for the future. And clearly, if you're Myles Garrett, you don't want any part of that, so holding on to Garrett at this point, it doesn't seem like it's beneficial for either party. And if that is the route they end up going down, I can't see how it ends well with Cleveland, other than just holding on to Myles Garrett for another year and having him, contribute to a handful of wins. So yeah, as it stands right now, just one NFL player in the state of Ohio has requested a trade. We'll see if it stays that way as the situations with both T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson develop. And if they do go down that route again, we'll have it covered right here on A to Z Sports Cincinnati.